What if everything we thought we knew about where we come from? Well, what if it was just the tip of a much larger, more incredible story?
Hmm.
Welcome to the deep dive here on the Insight Hub.
Great to be diving in.
Today, we're taking a truly mind-bending journey, plunging into some of humanity's deepest secrets.
What's fascinating?
Our mission, essentially, is to explore these extraordinary ancient discoveries at Karahan Tepe in Turkey,
Okay.
and then try to connect them with some pretty startling theories about advanced extraterrestrial beings, the Anunnaki.
Right. The ones some believe shaped our very existence.
Exactly. It's a huge topic.
We've got a fascinating stack of sources to guide us, actually.
Mhm.
We're looking at detailed archaeological reports, fresh from the ground.
Good, solid stuff.
Yeah, alongside these really intriguing interpretations of ancient Sumerian texts.
Okay.
And, well, they collectively paint a picture of our past that, frankly, profoundly challenges the conventional understanding.
Oh,
It intertwines archaeology, astronomy, even genetics, suggesting a history far richer and maybe more complex than most of us imagine.
so get ready for those aha moments, hopefully around every corner, because this isn't just about, digging up old facts.
I know.
This is a deep dive into our collective memory, really, asking those profound questions. Who are we? Why are we here?
And what our true potential might actually be.
Precisely. So let's start by setting the scene. Let's talk about what many are calling the 21st century's most important archaeological discovery, Karahan Tepe.
Okay, Karahan Tepe.
It's this incredible site located in southeastern Anatolia, Turkey, specifically the Şanlıurfa region, nestled in the Tek Mountains.
Right near Göbekli Tepe, relatively speaking.
Exactly. And what's truly astonishing about Karahan Tepe is its sheer scale. It's estimated to be much, much larger than Göbekli Tepe.
Oh.
We're talking around 13 hectares. That's about 33 acres. And get this, only about 5% has been exposed since excavations began in 2019.
So barely scratched the surface then.
Barely. And they're finding massive megalithic structures. There's this unfinished T-pillar on the western slope.
Yeah.
It's huge, 18 feet long,
Yeah.
complete with ancient tool marks and these cupels, these little carved hollows. And it looks strikingly similar to pillars at Göbekli Tepe, but also maybe echoes of Stonehenge, even Easter Island.
Interesting parallels.
Yeah.
And the age.
Equally impressive, it dates back to the late pre-pottery Neolithic A and early PPNB. So thriving from about 9100, 8800 BCE through to around 8000 BCE.
So really ancient. We're talking 11,000 years ago, roughly.
Absolutely. And it's part of this bigger initiative, the Tas Tepeler project, which covers like 12 of these monumental sites in total.
Right. And what the teams are actually uncovering there is, well, it's remarkable. These are 11,000-year-old structures, partly cut directly from the hill's natural limestone bedrock.
Built into the landscape itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're talking about areas they've designated structures AA, AB, and AD. Let's take structure AD, for example. They call it the Great Ellipse. This place once housed two enormous T-pillars. They're fragmented now, sadly, but you can clearly see where they stood.
And they're decorated.
One of them, a western central pillar, has this fascinating carved decoration. Something that might signify a draped garment.
Mm.
And its whole design, including a long stone bench used as an altar, which has a carved leopard skin pelt on it.
Yeah.
It points directly to some kind of profound ceremonial purpose.
More than just shelter, then.
Oh, definitely. And what's truly astonishing is its precise astronomical alignment. It really suggests these ancient builders were keenly observing the cosmos.
And integrating it into their sacred spaces.
Absolutely.
So it's not just big, it's meticulously planned. But the purpose behind these structures seems even more profound, right? Tell us about Structure AA, the pit shrine, and Structure AB, the pillar's shrine. How do they connect to this ancient worldview?
Right. Structure AA, the pit shrine. Now, this is particularly intriguing. It's often presented as maybe the oldest solar observatory in the world.
Wow, really?
That's the interpretation, yeah. It's aligned precisely to the setting sun at the time of the summer solstice.
Incredible precision.
And its symbolic shape. It strikingly resembles a snake's head, which suggests rituals where supplicants would symbolically enter what they might have seen as the Milky Way serpent's mouth.
Entering the serpent. That's quite an image.
Isn't it? Then there's Structure AB, the pillar's shrine. This features a giant stone head oriented immediately south of east, mirroring the Great Ellipse alignment.
A giant head. Facing where?
Well, according to interpretations of the sources, it may have been designed to gaze out toward the Galactic Bulge.
The center of our galaxy.
Yes, potentially in its role as the head of this Milky Way serpent, along with the Scorpius constellation nearby in the sky.
Okay, so we have these monumental structures, precise alignments, very specific animal imagery, snakes, leopards. But the deeper we explore Karahan Tepe, it seems this overarching worldview emerges, one dominated with an almost sacred obsession with the symbol of the snake.
Yes, that seems central.
This wasn't just decoration, was it? It sounds like it was fundamental to their understanding of the heavens, of life itself, and their connection to some extraordinary creative force behind the Milky Way.
That's the idea. What's fascinating here is how pervasive it is. The snake in these ancient cultures wasn't just an earthly creature. It was seen as, like, the controller of the heavens,
Right.
symbolizing life and a direct link to the next world.
Yeah.
It represented the primary creative force behind the Milky Way galaxy.
And it's not just snakes. You mentioned other animals.
No, exactly. Vulture symbolism is also really prevalent. They found this stunning vulture statue below a porthole stone.
Uh-huh.
And the vulture was a primary symbol of the pre-pottery Neolithic cult of the dead. And it's also linked to the Cygnus constellation.
Cygnus the swan, so vultures as soul carriers.
Precisely. Vultures were seen as psychopomps, or soul carriers.
Yeah.
It echoes imagery we see at Göbekli Tepe's famous Pillar 43, the one with the headless man and the vulture.
Right, which some people think might depict a comet impact.
That's one interpretation.
Yeah. So these aren't just animals, they're constellations, they're cosmic entities guiding souls. This takes as above, so below to a whole new level, doesn't it?
It really does. And Andrew Collins's theories about the astronomical alignments, they further connect northern alignments at Karahan Tepe to Cygnus. Specifically, the star Deneb, setting into a nearby hill, Göbekli Tepe, as seen from Karahan's northern knoll.
Okay, so they're mapping the sky onto the land.
It seems like it. The Milky Way, in this cosmology, wasn't just a band of stars. It was conceived as a cosmic waterway for souls.
A river for souls.
Yeah. And the bifurcation, that split in the Milky Way near Cygnus where Deneb is, that was seen as a crucial portal.
A gateway.
A gateway, possibly guarded by a sky figure, maybe one known as Brain Smasher. I mean, these findings strongly suggest a sophisticated astronomical understanding.
Way beyond what we'd expect.
Many thousands of years before the construction of New Grange or, any other megalithic monument in Western Europe.
That's truly astounding. It suggests an awareness of the cosmos far beyond what we typically attribute to this period. And if that wasn't enough, our sources hint at shamanic rituals. Were they trying to access this cosmic connection somehow?
It certainly seems plausible. The hypothesis is that they might have used things like sound bombardment.
Sound bombardment.
Yeah, perhaps chanting or drumming in those resonant stone structures to induce altered states of consciousness,
Okay.
with supplicants maybe entering these interconnected structures at specific times, like the solstices, the goal to connect with the Milky Way serpent.
And maybe receive wisdom?
Perhaps make oracular pronouncements, yeah. A bit reminiscent of the famous Delphic oracle, in a way.
Fascinating.
So this deep astronomical understanding wasn't just academic, it was deeply spiritual and practical for them.
Right.
And that alignment of the pillar shrine towards the Galactic Bulge and Scorpius, that's particularly significant. Scorpius would have been rising in the east around 9000 BCE, and the galactic center itself actually coincides with Scorpius's stinger in the sky, a detail probably not lost on these ancient observers.
And Scorpius had a special meaning.
It seems so. It held this powerful dual nature in their cosmology, both beneficial, maybe involved in the creation of life, and deadly, possibly blamed for catastrophic events.
So Scorpius is both creator and destroyer tied to cosmic cycles. This sounds almost like a precursor to much later mythological cycles of destruction and rebirth.
Exactly, and this could potentially tie into some modern theories too, like Paul Laviolette's galactic superwave theory.
What's that?
Well, it posits that Sagittarius A, the supermassive black hole at our galaxy's center,
Right.
may have sent out huge bursts of cosmic rays around, say, 13,865 BCE.
Wow.
And these bursts, according to the theory, caused major climate shifts, cataclysms, maybe even aligning with Earth's supposed 32 million-year extinction cycles as our solar system moves through the galactic plane.
It's a massive concept.
It is. And the Milky Way itself was also viewed anciently as the eclipse dragon, known as Athulya by the Chaldeans, Gutier by Zoroastrians, believed to control the heavens.
A dragon in the sky.
Yeah. And what's truly remarkable maybe poignant, is that Karahan Tepe seems to have been abandoned around the time the midsummer sun no longer synchronized with the galactic center from their perspective.
The alignment was lost.
But intriguingly, a new alignment would occur much, much later. The sun rising on the winter solstice, December 21st, 2012, marked its alignment with the galactic center again.
Ah, the infamous 2012 date.
Right. A momentous occasion perhaps of profound present-day importance, hinting at maybe a renewed cosmic synchronization for us today.
Okay, so we've journeyed through this astounding cosmic awareness encoded in sites like Karahan Tepe. Amazing stuff. But what if this wasn't just observation? What if our celestial connections run far deeper? Maybe reaching into our very origins.
Where are you going with this?
Well, this brings us to another ancient narrative. One that steps from archaeology into, well, pretty astounding claims of genetic history. The Sumerian accounts of the Anunnaki.
Ah, yes, the Anunnaki.
According to these texts, or at least interpretations of them, who exactly were the Anunnaki? And what are these texts claiming about their role in human history?
Okay, well, according to these ancient accounts, which some researchers interpret as literal historical records, the Anunnaki were those who from heaven to earth came.
From heaven to earth.
They're described as a giant and sort of quasi-immortal human species, originating supposedly from a planet called Nibiru.
Nibiru, planet X.
Also known as Planet X, yes. These sources claim they settled on Earth and, quite astonishingly, created humanity through genetic engineering.
Created us, wow. And Nibiru.
It's described as a kind of nomad planet with a huge 3,600-year elliptical orbit, often called the planet of the crossing, because its path intersected others. It's even believed by some interpreters to have influenced cosmic events, like maybe the formation of the asteroid belt from a collision with a hypothetical planet called Tiamat.
Right, the cosmic battle narrative. So their purpose on Earth wasn't just exploration, it sounds like exploitation. And our creation was a result of that.
That's a blunt way to put it, but yeah, that's precisely what these texts seem to convey. The Anunnaki's primary purpose on Earth, according to these records, was to mine gold.
Gold? Why gold?
The texts don't always specify why they needed it, maybe for their atmosphere back on Nibiru, some speculate. But our sources indicate that a huge amount, maybe 60%, of the modern world's gold is believed to have come from southern Africa.
Okay.
And that's where they supposedly began operations way back, around 443,000 years ago.
443,000 years.
That's immense.
It is. Then, roughly 200,000 years later, apparently there was a problem with their labor force, maybe a rebellion of the worker gods, the Igigi, which led to the creation of the first purpose-built human worker, the Adamu, who was put to work in Africa. The first man, Adamu. And this connects to genetics.
It brings us to a really compelling modern mystery, the so-called junk DNA. You know, the vast majority of our DNA that doesn't seem to code for proteins.
Yeah, scientists are still figuring that out.
Exactly. But imagine discovering that our very DNA might be operating on a kind of restricted mode, with maybe only 3% of our genes actively functioning as they could.
Okay.
The Sumerian texts, or interpretations of them, propose this wasn't accidental. They suggest it was an intentional restricted genome designed by the Anunnaki.
To keep us docile as workers.
That's the implication. But the profound insight here isn't just some wild theory. It poses a question for today. What extraordinary human potential might be dormant within us right now?
Latent abilities.
Exactly. Just waiting to be unlocked if that original, supposedly complete blueprint could somehow be reactivated.
That's a profound thought, a restricted genome implying an original, complete one. So how exactly did this genetic engineering process, this creation of humanity, supposedly unfold according to these ancient tablets?
Well, the texts detail the process, where Anunnaki scientists, figures like Enki, who was the chief scientist, Ninmah, the chief medical officer, and Ningish Zeta, Enki's son,
Right.
they created what's called the Lulu slave race. And they did it by combining Anunnaki DNA, or maybe DNA from the Igigi worker gods, with the genes of an existing hominid, perhaps Homo habilis or Homo erectus.
Mixing alien and proto-human genes.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
There's a very vivid story about them slaughtering an Igigi god named Geshtue, who was apparently intelligent but rebellious,
Okay.
and mixing his flesh and blood, his essence and intelligence, with clay. And importantly, clay here, the word is turab, likely meant earthly elements, not just mud.
Earthly elements.
To create the first batch, 7 males and 7 females.
And figures like Adam and Eve or Lilith.
Incredibly, figures like Lilith and Eve in some interpretations of related texts are described as originating from this genetically created group. implying a non-human or at least engineered lineage for these foundational archetypes.
So humanity's very beginnings were intertwined with this powerful, almost alien hierarchy. And within that, it sounds like there were immediate divine conflicts, which then shaped human destiny.
Absolutely. You have the Anunnaki hierarchy, Anu the king back on Nibiru, Enlil, his son, the commander here on Earth, often described as pretty brutal, maybe vengeful.
The god of vengeance in the Old Testament, some link him to.
That's one comparison people draw, yeah. Then there's Enki, Enlil's half-brother, the chief scientist. He seems more maverick, maybe more compassionate towards humans, often portrayed as the snake figure, the bringer of knowledge, the one who solves secrets.
The serpent in the garden, perhaps?
That's a connection many make, yes. And our sources reinterpret major biblical events through this lens, like the Great Flood.
Right, you mentioned that earlier.
It's presented not as divine anger at human wickedness, but as a natural calamity, caused by Nibiru's close gravitational pass around 11,000 BCE, which apparently caused massive sea level rises and storms. This was supposedly about 432,000 years after the Anunnaki first arrived.
So physics, not punishment.
According to this narrative, yes. And Enlil, apparently, wanted to let humanity perish, perhaps saw it as an opportunity.
Ouch.
But Enki defied him. He intervened to warn his human protege, Zusudra, also known as Utnapishtim, or Noah, instructing him to build a boat.
To save the seed of humanity.
Exactly, saving the seed of humanity and of the living, as the texts put it.
That's a lot to take, and the traditional narrative of divine wrath gets completely flipped on its head here. When these texts describe events like the flood, or even the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah as acts of Anunnaki warfare, what specific details do they provide? Why read it as warfare, not allegory?
Well, proponents of this view point to descriptions that sound less like myth and more like, well, technology. These sources suggest such events were direct consequences of conflicts among the Anunnaki themselves.
God versus God.
Essentially. The texts describe their weaponry, their strategies, in ways that some researchers interpret as descriptions of advanced technology, even referencing tools capable of mass destruction. For instance, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah is portrayed by some as a deliberate act of Anunnaki warfare, maybe even the nuking of cities aligned with rival factions, rather than a punishment from a single omnipotent deity.
Wow. So humans were caught in the crossfire.
Humans in this narrative were often mere chess pieces in a great game of global conquest. Conflicts between these gods, like Enlil and Enki, often initiated wars between the human groups loyal to them.
Our wars were echoes of their wars.
That's the idea. It also suggests that later biblical texts might have simplified things, reinterpreting these multiple, powerful Anunnaki leaders as a single omnipotent god, condensing a complex pantheon and its messy politics into a more straightforward, singular divine figure.
It's an incredibly provocative rereading of history, mythology, everything. But, okay, despite being created, seemingly used as pawns, these narratives also suggest that humans possess vast dormant abilities, a hidden potential. What does this mean for us?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting, maybe even empowering. Our sources introduce this concept of the double.
The double.
It's described as a non-physical, sort of electromagnetic ectoplasma astral body that coexists with our physical one.
Our spirit or soul.
Perhaps related, yeah. This double is said to hold our true persona, our deep memory, and it's capable of separating at death to enter what they call a fourth dimension.
Okay.
It's even suggested to play a role in things like miraculous recoveries from illness or injury, implying a deeper self that can influence our physical reality.
And there was something else, the conduit.
Yes, integral to accessing this potential is the conduit, described as ultramicroscopically small tissues and membranes found within our brain cells.
In our brain cells.
That's the idea. This conduit is said to contain and retain everything the Anunnaki put in you, in your body and in your mind. Like the original blueprint, maybe.
The full potential locked away. So we have this double and this conduit. But how does one actually access this hidden potential? How do we go from just having it to actually using it?
Good question. The activation of this conduit seems to be the key. The texts speak of enlightened ones, known in some traditions as Al-Munawwarin, who, often guided by teachers or through specific practices, can learn to tap into the conduit.
And what happens then?
By doing so, they claim one can communicate directly with their double, access vast stores of knowledge, perhaps the Akashic records, some might say, and even perceive or experience multiple dimensions.
Accessing other realities.
That's the implications.
Yeah.
Think of our current brains like I don't know, a really powerful computer, but it's running on very limited software.
Okay.
The idea here is that the Anunnaki actually designed us with what could be called a supersymmetric brain, almost like a quantum computer compared to our everyday biological processor.
Symmetric.
Yeah. So activating the conduit isn't just about unlocking more memory. It's like installing a completely new operating system, one that allows us to process information, perceive reality, and interact with dimensions far beyond our current understanding. And this ultimately is what could move us beyond those original genetic specifications of the Anunnaki that might have once limited us, allowing us to reach our full, maybe truly extraordinary potential.
Okay, let's try and unpack this for a second. We've gone from ancient megalithic sites in Turkey aligned with cosmic events
Karahan Tepe.
to these ancient Sumerian texts describing our creation by advanced, maybe extraterrestrial beings,
The Anunnaki.
and then right down into the hidden potential within our own brains, our DNA, this conduit, this double. It's a lot to take in. Truly mind-bending stuff.
It really is. But what's truly fascinating, I think, is the consistent thread you can almost see running through all these different sources.
What thread is that?
Well, that ancient cultures weren't just, idly observing stars. They were encoding a really profound understanding of cosmic mechanics and, crucially, our place within them.
Right.
These aren't just isolated myths or strange ruins. They're possibly echoes of a shared, incredibly deep past, and maybe hints of a latent potential still residing within us, waiting to be fully realized.
So if our ancestors truly understood these cosmic rhythms, these connections, and if our own DNA possibly holds a blueprint from these celestial architects, what does that mean for our future?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Are we meant to somehow unlock these dormant genes, activate our conduit, as these sources suggest? Could we truly become these supersymmetric minds capable of navigating not just Earth, but maybe multiple dimensions?
It's a powerful thought.
It really makes you wonder, what will you discover about yourself, about the universe, once you start looking at these ancient mysteries, these possibilities differently?
Food for thought, definitely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Karahan Tepe and the Anunnaki here on the Insight Hub.
Thanks for the exploration.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and until next time, stay curious.